Alright, YouTube. Alright. Oh. Oh. Are you kidding me? That's bullcrap. So, my sandal just broke. They're Jordans. Thank God I got them for free, right? Ex-girlfriend. I had to trade SpongeBob underwear for them. Yes, I said SpongeBob underwear. My SpongeBob underwear. Anyway. Hey YouTube, this is Nezrak. We're back with another Nez's RE video. Today we're talking about well, we're not really talking specifically about the government shutdown, but we are talking about Obamacare and why the government is shut down, what the Republicans are after, and let's talk about, these two specific topics that constantly, get thrown out there. Constantly, these two are in the spotlight. So let's talk about the individual mandate. And I have a tripod now, so you guys are floating. Anyway, we're going to talk about the individual mandate today in this particular video because it's a lot to explain, okay? So if you don't have a good attention span, don't watch this video, okay? This is for someone who really wants to understand and not just blindly hate something, okay? So, the individual mandate, let's talk about it. The individual mandate pretty much is saying that you will be penalized annually for not having any health coverage. Let's think about that and why it's not as bad as it sounds. I'm not trying to say that it's okay for the government to tell you that you have to have health insurance, but it kind of makes sense, okay? So, let's say you can't afford health insurance. That's really the position I'm in myself right now. I can't afford health insurance. I can't afford to go and get on a plan and pay $200-300 a month, whatever it is, to get on health insurance, to get some good coverage. I am pretty much self-employed right now. I do have an employer, but they don't offer insurance for people like me because they hire us as independent contractors. If you know someone in real estate, in associate marketing, anything like that, they are pretty much independent contractors. That's how they're hired done. So their company doesn't have to provide any benefits for them, okay? So, I mean, that's pretty much the result right there, So I don't have any health insurance, and Obamacare is going to make it to where I can get health insurance, okay? I'm not going to have to pay the penalty for the individual mandate because I don't make enough money, and I'll probably get some sort of coverage for free, okay? So that works. What about people who are working and make too much money to qualify for the free business or whatever? It doesn't work like that. Let's really think about this. If you went out and you got a private plan in the private sector, you're not going to have to pay for it. If this were up to a private company and not the government, you probably have to pay for not getting their coverage, but that's not what's going on. They just want you to have some coverage, okay? So, I forgot where I was going with that. But anyway, if you want to go out into the private sector, get your own coverage, you're okay. You don't have to pay an annual penalty, okay? But if you make enough money to where you don't qualify for the free plan or the public option for free, you may have to, you may feel like, hey, my bills are too high and I can't afford it. But that's what the public option is for. If you are working, it doesn't mean that you're exempt from food stamps, okay? It doesn't mean that you're exempt from financial aid. It doesn't mean that you're exempt from any other government aid. It means that you have to report your earnings and show to them that you are paying out nearly just as much as you make to survive in order to receive those benefits, okay? And a lot of people misconstrue this as you have to sit on your ass to get food stamps, to get financial aid, and as soon as you start working, you starve. And that's how I thought about it for a long time, which is why I used food stamps one time when I was opening up my own shop with my brother. That's when I used food stamps. I was freaking employee of that company, and we were just starting out. We had no business license, no nothing. We were just starting. okay? So I mean, it was just us three too. So I mean, it's like, in that situation I had to, because I had no other income and the shop was making zilch, nothing, no money at all. And it was 2010, so nobody was hiring. The stimulus money was out, okay? So I mean, things were pretty difficult during those times. 2010 sucked as a year for me altogether, but things were extra difficult. But I mean, you as an individual, if you're making $2,000, $2,500 a month with your job, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to go and get either an extremely cheap public option or a completely free public option, depending on what your living expenses are. Especially if you live in California. If you live in California and you live in Ontario, LA, San Diego, any of those places where the rent is ridiculously high, Oxnard, you know, $1,000 for a one bedroom, yeah, you will definitely see, you know, some leniency in what you're gonna pay, okay? Not only that, you might actually get the option for free depending on how much you make. So I mean, the goal is to zero out your income, and they will tell you that. You know, if you can zero out your income and if you look at your bills and you always find that you're in the negative because you don't make enough money, it will be pretty easy to do. And if you can bring those bills to them and show them, you know, hey, I pay this every month, I pay this every month, I pay this every month, and I'm at negative $225 every month just trying to live, you know, they're probably going to hook you up. They're probably going to give you your health insurance and your food stamps until you can better your position, okay? The goal is, for these people, is to better your position. If you're working 2 jobs just to make it, just to feed yourself, maybe you should quit a job, go to school, okay? And use those benefits until you can get out of that situation. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, okay? They just keep working hard, and it never pays off. That's how a lot of people live and die in this country, okay? So anyway, that's why the individual mandate, yeah, totally went off on the tirade. This is probably going to be a 3-part video. Now, so, YouTube, like I was saying, this is why the individual mandate is, you know, so much, it's kind of blown out of proportion. Because the reality of the situation is if you're not getting health insurance because you say that you can't afford it, you should be able to get health insurance cheaper so that you can afford it. If you make too much money and you go get a public option, you're exempt from the individual mandate. If you make very, very little money, like I do, you will probably be able to get your benefits for free. Okay? Every program that the government has works that way. Okay? Food stamps, financial aid, even for companies. If you own a company, it works the same way. You have to prove that, you know, your bills are higher than, you know, what you're making. And you can actually get government aid for your business that way, okay? This is what the government does. And a lot of people will say, something in my car, a lot of people will say that the government is overreaching while they are actively receiving those benefits, okay? And these people are just those people who live in an enchanted world and believe that, you know, assholes and elbows is what produces results, when the reality is money produces results, okay? That's the reality of the situation. Money produces results. Money makes money, okay? If you don't have any money, don't expect to make any money, okay? This is where the individual mandate really gets misconstrued, and it's with individuals without insurance. Right off the bat, the individual mandate doesn't even exist anymore. Let's start off with saying that. It does exist, but a little bit differently. But right off the bat, let's talk about the people who won't have insurance. People who won't have insurance simply because they choose not to. They have the money, they have the means, they have a company who will cover them, whatever, and they just don't do it, okay? These are the people who, when they get hurt, when they get sick, will have to go to the ER, okay? And generally, if someone's ignorant enough to do that, they're not going to pay their own bill. And if they do pay their own bill, they're going to be paying ridiculously high prices. When you're out there by yourself paying for these services, that's when you realize that you need an insurance company on your back. You need somebody to cover a portion of that, if not all of it, almost all the time, because that's how these companies make their money. That's why it's so expensive just to get a shot. Now, let me explain a shot. Let me explain the situation of why the individual mandate is important and why I don't think it's such a bad idea versus mandatory auto insurance, okay? Not a few years ago, back in 2007, oh my God, I am getting old. 5 years ago, oh God, 6 years ago. 6 years ago, back in 2007, we sat down and had a dinner, okay? And yeah, I'm still on the individual mandate. Let me finish the story so you can kind of understand why this public option would be important, okay? Or why the individual mandate makes sense, okay? So anyway, back in 2007, I was having dinner with my family, okay? I had egg foo young from a Chinese restaurant that we've been going to since I was probably 12, 11 years old, okay? And at the time I was probably 22, 23. So I mean, you know, I was a man, blah, 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 whatever, you know, freaking, been eating this stuff for years, but for some reason tonight, I had an allergic reaction. I noticed I bit down on something crunchy, and it just, like, I chewed it, and I just hit it once with my teeth, and it disappeared. And I was like, that was a very interesting texture, but I liked it, so I ignored it, and I just continued to eat, you know? And I had never noticed that before, but whatever it was, I was allergic to it. Make a long story short. I was so allergic to it that I broke out in hives that night. And if you've ever had hives, it sucks, okay? You pretty much have bumps that are swirling around your body. When I say swirling around your body, the hives move, okay? They don't stay in one spot. Wherever the most affected area is, or blood is, or wherever it is in your system, is where the hives are. So it goes like from your feet to your head and neck, to your ass, to your back, you know, to your crotch, to your armpits, to your arms. It goes everywhere, and it sucks wherever it goes. In some places, it sucks more than others, okay? And I dealt with that. I was going crazy all night dealing with that, okay? Got very little sleep. When I finally did get some sleep, probably around like 4 or 5, the sun was coming up when I actually fell asleep. I woke up and my tongue was starting to swell, okay? So that's when I really started getting worried. You know, at first it was just like, you know, maybe I could take some Benadryl or something like that. We didn't have any Benadryl. I was completely broke at the time. So I just had to deal with it. You know, so anyway, my tongue was swollen the next morning, and so, like I was saying, my tongue was swollen the next morning, and I told my mom that, you know, we're probably gonna have to go to the hospital, okay? So she, you know, said, okay, you can be ready in 30 minutes. Said, I'm ready now. So we went to the hospital. Make a long story short, go into the ER and tell them what my situation was. They saw me pretty quickly, okay? It wasn't like they saw me, you know, in 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. They saw me within 15 minutes, and I appreciated that big time, because I thought that I could possibly die. So, after, you know, I was seen, I was given a shot, okay? This shot is the worst shot you can ever get. If you think getting flu shots suck, or getting immunizations suck, no, you're a sissy. That's what you are. If you think getting tattoos suck, you're a sissy, okay? Getting a shot for for an allergic reaction, that fucking sucks, okay? The shot was probably literally, the needle was about normal. It's a little bit longer, but the really bad part of that situation was the syringe itself. The actual plunger and medication that was inside of it was probably about the circumference of that thing was probably the same as a quarter, okay? It was really that big, and it was pretty long, and it looked like something out of science fiction. And the nurse, the attending nurse, actually asked me which arm do you write with before she gave me the shot. And I said I write with my right arm. So she starts to swab my left arm. And I said, is it really that bad? And she goes, yes, it's pretty bad. Tell me if you're okay afterward. Which scared the crap out of me. So anyway, I get my shot, and it feels like she's ripping the muscles of my shoulder apart with this shot. Because she probably was. But, I mean, make a long story short, I felt a bit nauseous. You know, I started getting dizzy. She said, let me know if you're okay, this, that, and the other. I started freaking... I didn't have a reaction to the shot, per se, and I knew that. I had a reaction to how bad the fucking shot hurt. The shot really fucking hurts. If you ever have had one of those shots, leave a comment to let people know that I'm not full of crap and I'm not being a sissy here. That shot fucking hurt, okay? So anyway, I got the shot. Probably 45 minutes later, I was feeling better, okay? When I say feeling better, I was feeling better from getting the shot. Another 45 minutes to an hour later, all of my symptoms were gone, okay? So that shot really worked. What had worried me before I went there and had worried me after I left and, you know, for 2 weeks afterward was how much was it going to cost. Later on, I received a bill from Arrowhead Regional Medical Center that I had a bill for $468, okay? This is a person who works for a small security company who's making minimal, pretty much minimum wage and working, you know, 12-hour shifts, and was having issues just getting gas in my car to go to work. I had to borrow money just to make money in that situation, okay? The company was terrible. The company I worked for was terrible at that time, okay? And I wasn't really making any money, okay? That's the reality of the situation. I was making money, but they were having such a hard time paying me, it seemed like, that, you know, it just wasn't worth it. Eventually I left that company for a better company. But that company didn't have health insurance. The company I went to afterward didn't have health insurance. And, you know, I never paid that bill. Mainly because it was like, I was 22, 23, I was barely off of my parents' coverage. And it was like, you know, $468 for a shot. Like, it helped me. It probably saved my life, you know. Who knows what would have happened if I didn't get the shot. But I just couldn't afford it. It was the reality of the situation. And what really shocked me was I wasn't harassed about that bill. I wasn't called. I wasn't sent a bunch of letters for it. I wasn't told that I had to pay it by this time or we're going to start garnishing your wages or whatever. That bill pretty much disappeared probably within a year, yeah? And it took me about a year to leave that company. So by the time I left that company, that bill was nowhere. I don't think it was even on my credit after that. I even checked my credit to see if it was there. It wasn't there. So the easy way to explain that was the annual subsidies that the government provides to these, you know, medical establishments for people like me who go in, receive treatment, and can't afford it is subsidized. It's either a tax write-off or it's just completely paid for by the government. Okay? And when I say it's paid for by the government, I'm not exaggerating because these people aren't paying for it. They write it off. Okay? They get discounts for all of that. Okay? They get either discounts on their taxes or write-off breaks on their taxes, or they just add it up as lost revenue and they get even more breaks in their taxes. Okay? Which means that they're paying less in the end. Okay? If they're paying less in their taxes because I couldn't afford to pay mine, that means that that had to be made up somewhere else, okay? And this goes for anyone who's not covered by insurance and goes to the hospital and racks up a bill that they can't pay, you know? These hospitals write it off and we have to pay for it. And I say we the taxpayers who pay the government end up paying for that, okay? So it's not only expensive for the person who has it, it's expensive for the entire nation, okay? The state, the nation, wherever. It's expensive for the entire population when that happens, okay? So that's why I say the individual mandate makes sense. If you are walking around without coverage and you have the ability to get coverage for free or for very cheap, and you would rather go out and blow your money on beer and bitches, I mean, That's not really fair for the rest of us, you know, I mean, who are paying our taxes. Like, I think there should just be a tax for it, personally. I think that they should just tax us for Obamacare and make it universal. Make it something to where if you don't want to go the Kaiser route, you can go that route, bottom line, and probably get the same coverage. And since you're paying your taxes for it, and you're not exempt from that, you've been paying your taxes for it, you should get those services for free. I mean, even though you're paying your taxes, I mean, technically for free. No monthly bill, no yearly bill, no bi-yearly. Yeah, so, I mean, I think that would work better, much better than, you know, going the route of, oh, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, what the goal really is, what the president, what the government's trying to do is not destroy the medical industry, and to provide a government option. The reality of the situation is, the medical industry is fine. The medical industry in the United States is more than fine. The system is broken in favor of the industry. Now, this is why I say I'd rather just pay my taxes and get the benefits of a government option. And it's because some people, what's the word I'm looking for? Some people have no ability to go out and really research what happens in this country, or they just dispel any factual data or evidence or situations as propaganda, okay? And that is the case in both parties. It does happen. But the reality of the situation is the medical industry is making billions of dollars a year, okay? It's doing better than the car industry. It's doing better than everything but the drug industry. And I mean, the illegal drug industry is not doing as good as the pharmaceutical industry, okay? And I mean, you gotta really think about what's happening in this country, okay? Why private insurance to me is kind of a sham, and I'd rather go with the government option. Private insurance, well, it's profit driven. Your health and your ability to be healthy, your ability to spend time with your family is profit driven. 100%. Sounds like somebody's here. Sounds like this garage door might lift up pretty soon here. And when something's profit driven, they start to care less about the quality of service, and they try to find ways to make it cheaper, even if quality of service is compromised, just to deliver a product and ultimately deliver a better profit. Now, this is where the arguments about, you know, the government overstepping, the government can't handle it. This is where the government would be different than a private company, okay? As a private company, if I'm working on your car and I find a rotor, let's say your car needs brakes and rotors, something I do pretty often, okay? Let's say you're in a Toyota and your car needs brakes and rotors. I go look at, and this is something I actually do myself, I go look at the Toyota's website, see if I can find the brakes and rotors for your car, and you know, the rotors cost $120, the brakes cost, you know, $70, and calipers may cost, you know, $250 a piece, okay? So let's just say, you know, just a random ballpark, $700 in parts for your rotors and your brakes and your calipers, okay, to overhaul your front brakes. $700 just in parts. That's not including paying me to do the work for you. That's just parts, okay? So if I find cheaper rotors, cheaper brakes, cheaper parts from China that are known to just shatter and break on people. And I haven't done that, okay? I usually go to AutoZone. Still China, but it's AutoZone. I decided to throw those on there, and they only cost me $70, you know, altogether to buy the parts for your car. That's a 10%, you know, 10% less cost for you, okay? But what these companies don't do, they don't pass on the $700 or the $630 that they saved to you. they pocket that, and they may even charge you more. Okay, that's the reality of the situation. They'll pocket that money and charge you more. Okay, they'll buy a cheaper part and charge you more for a cheaper part. Okay, that's how they make their money. Okay, that's where the money is. I mean, that's how garages make their money. That's how shops make their money. Okay, I caught on to that kind of late. But when you do that with people's health, when you do that with people's health, you run into the situation to where people are getting sick from the meds that you prescribe. People are getting sick from, poor treatment, poor sterilization of equipment. People are getting sick, and that's something that you hear a lot more now than you used to back in 91, 92, is people taking medication and getting sicker rather than getting better, or taking medication for one thing and ending up with a completely different life-threatening ailment when all they had was, sore teeth, something like that, or periodontal disease or something like that, They had something that wasn't necessarily life-threatening, but now it is because the medication is no longer regulated, okay? And that's what happened. The FDA, EPA is another one, all these government agencies are being deregulated so more profits can be made, and we're suffering for it. It's not the government doing it, it's the private sector buying politicians and pretty much trying to shove legislation through that will make their profits higher, okay? If they're willing to do that, okay, why would you want them covering? That's the way I see it. Why would you want them to cover your expenses? Why would you want them to perform your treatments? And I mean, regardless of how good of a doctor it is, regardless of how good a nurse is, regardless of how much research has been done on the product, legitimate research, if the person who calls the shots says no, it's no. That's why I personally would rather have a government option than a public option. Not to say that the government's perfect, but it's not profit driven. They're not trying to make money off you. The money's going to come in regardless, so it's all about prick waving after that. We have the best healthcare system in the world. Wow, that was the weirdest. I never had that before. We have the best healthcare system in the world, and that's what it is. It's all about being number one. Once it becomes a government thing. It's all about attracting people. You attract people. You attract revenue. All right, YouTube. So I had to redo the last video. My batteries died. The last video sucked. It kind of went off on a different page about other stuff, and I'm trying to stay focused on revenue now. Revenue. Let me explain revenue to you. Revenue essentially is taxing the population, okay? That's how the government generates revenue. You tax the population and you tax businesses, but businesses don't pay taxes like we do. They find ways around it, okay? So that's revenue lost, okay? But when the government's running healthcare and you're, attracting more residents, you're attracting more people to essentially tax, okay? Which will make up for all those companies not paying their hundreds of thousands of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars, probably even billions of dollars of income tax that is not being paid to the federal government for companies that operate in America and should be paying their taxes, okay? So anyway, that's what it really turns into. It's a way to make money, okay? Now you may be thinking, well, how are they going to make money off of income tax if these people are getting health care? And it's universal, and it's, the government's, paying for them whenever they get sick. Firstly, most people don't get sick all the time. Most of the time, you don't get sick enough to where you need to go to the hospital for a visit. Generally speaking, you get sick to where you go to the store, grab some NyQuil, drink half a bottle, pass out, wake up the next day feeling like $1 million. But when you do need it, and it's not something, like cancer, or you don't have CF or something like that, generally speaking, most of the masses don't have those ailments. So while they're paying into the system and they're paying their income tax, those are pretty much two sources of revenue for not only Obamacare, but for the government itself, okay? So, universal health care or just even the Affordable Health Care Act, is something that would really benefit our country altogether. Okay, more people paying taxes means more. What's the word I'm looking for? More opportunities for ourselves and for our kids. Okay, me personally, I really am a product of that. Okay, I'm not even sure if this program exists anymore, but I was part of the GATE program from GATE 8. Okay, from first grade to like 7th grade, and I think just the fact that I was in that program has completely changed who I am versus who I might have become. Okay, I realized that the kids that were in other classes, their mentality was completely different from ours. Our substitutes were the first ones to really point that out to us. You know, they'd come into our class and they'd be like, you know, wow, everybody raises their hand in this class, and in the other classes, nobody raises their hands. You know, in our class, you were fighting to try to give an answer, even if it was wrong. It didn't matter. You know, that you were fighting to give an answer, and everybody else, I guess, in the regular classes, they didn't have that enthusiasm for education, you know? And it's probably something that I think should be standardized. The GATE program is something that should just be how school works. All of our teachers should be teachers who are encouraging kids to just throw out an answer, even if they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Because that's how you learn, you know? But that program wouldn't have existed without the government, because it was a public system. It was a public educational system. So, I mean, a lot more is riding on this, on just healthcare, other than, you know, companies having to pay for this, that, and the other. Because let's face it, I mean, in the end, we're going to be the ones paying for it. So why not get something out of it? That's just how I feel about it. Aside, feel free to like and subscribe. I know this video kind of took a few twists and turns, but I wanted to really get down to as much as I could. I haven't even touched on everything that really is going on with universal health care, okay? Like, universal health care is the first step to a snowball effect, and that snowball effect is going to benefit the people and not private companies, okay? They're going to see profits drop, okay? And that's what the real issue is. That's why we have a GOP that's completely opposing it, and a whole bunch of people out there, you know, yelling about it and saying how it's bad when they're the ones that's going to benefit. I mean, this is propaganda. That's how it works, okay? Am I mad at those people? Somewhat. But I feel like if you're going to share your opinion, if you're going to share how you feel, you should let people respond. And that's how I feel, you know? Feel free to leave a comment. I say that at the end of every single Nez's RE video I have. So, I mean, feel free to leave a comment. If you think that everything I said was bogus, if you actually watched this entire video, which I seriously doubt anyone who has the attention span of most YouTubers, no offense YouTubers, has done, you know, leave a comment. If you think that everything I said was bogus, my real life experiences were acted out, whatever you feel, say it. You know, I like comments, I like discussion. I don't even care if you come over to troll if you want, okay? I did it for a long time. I'm expecting it to happen to me, so feel free to like and subscribe. This is Nezarek. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's not a series, it's just one long video, but I hope I enlighten people. I hope people understand that this is more than just healthcare, okay? This is more than just being able to go to the doctor when you're sick. It's a wave, okay? It's a snowball effect. I'm gonna probably make a video for that today. So you'll probably see this shirt instead of the sweater and no beanie. So hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys have a good one.